All right, I'll call the meeting to order, the Personnel and Policy Committee. First item on the agenda is board policies and introduction to the 25 policies looking for revisions. And we will, I guess,
Yeah.
Matt and I were unable to open those. Okay. Carrie said he got it. Did you try to look at the policies?
Yes, and while I am grateful that we have people who are clearly working 50 to 70 hours a week here at this building, could we ease off on the quantity?
Yeah, no
We cut it
kidding.
down.
I mean, honestly,
We
it
cut
was,
it down from 40.
well, I guess they are, but holy man. Yeah, I spent most of the day reading these, so.
Sure.
But,
But yes, I got to read that.
oh, you were able to read them?
Fascinating.
Yeah, I supposed
For
to
some
be.
reason, Matt and I could not. So
I have a grandson.
this is the first read. Do you want to advance it anyway?
This would just.
I just thought, well,
Introduced.
Yeah.
The first read actually takes place on July 9th.
Oh,
So there is about a week and a day, you know, sending it to the board. Yeah, basically, it's just sending it to the.
I mean, I looked at, I mean, some of them I didn't.
okay.
It could be a code 18 FK. That means 18 inches from the keyboard.
I don't know. I mean, I put yes in every one of them.
Yeah.
I didn't read all the fine print that's dashed out.
I'll just put a yes.
But I did look at the, huh?
I'll just put a yes out.
I put a yes on it.
So do I have a motion and a second to move those to the board? For Matt?
I have a question.
Well, make the second, then ask the question.
Okay, I'll second it.
Aren't you a
Okay.
simple?
we have
But
a
I
motion and a
think,
second question.
I think what Chris just said, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we should maybe do 5 or 6, you know, a time instead of like a whole shitload of
We
like
sure could.
25.
Problem that we have is that was the philosophy that we used for the first 8 months, and we only passed 40 some policies, when we have 200 and some that we're behind on.
Right.
So unfortunately for all of us,
We have to
because
approve
we
each
didn't
one of
stay
the.
on it, we're at a point where, like, this will be a way we can catch up. Now, at the last meeting, this meeting,
Okay.
what was said was, we'll try 25, but if that's too many, we can back off and go 15 or 10. Oh, well, I do know it's a lot, and trust me.
But some of them are, some of these were pretty short, but some of them aren't,
Correct,
you know,
correct.
and if you're gonna.
I am happy to advance these to the second round. But my,
First round, yeah.
Well, introduction.
well, yeah, right. But that, so like, to me, then first read is the second round. But yeah.
Okay.
So I'm happy to do that. My concern is that you two haven't had a chance to look at it, so I don't want to vote for that unless you guys are comfortable with it. And I know
I'm
you.
comfortable with it
moved it,
because we
so-
have a week to go over it again, and I mean, nothing gets done until it hits the board. If we don't do this, we end up just prolonging all these for another month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as long as I have access to it, I have no problem with just keeping the ball rolling.
I'd be surprised if we
I just
find
wanted to
anything to
support you
really
guys.
like.
That's my own opinion.
God.
And we can pull them out if we. Correct.
Yeah, we'll always be able to do that.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor of forwarding it, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And we'll go to the
That's cool.
special
I thought we
update.
were gonna have to go through each one of them.
So yeah, the special update, there were 3 documents associated with this agenda item. The first is just a memo that I penned to sort of summarize the issue. Last week, we were notified by Neola that there were some critical federal updates to Title IX. School districts are required to update the Title IX policies and be ready to implement the changes of the regulations by August 1st. So there was as you can imagine, when you're given that type of turnaround,
Yeah.
my email's also flooded with all sorts of, I don't understand. These are webinars and things that they want you to do to get caught up to do this. And really what the bottom line is, given the sensitive nature of this, plus the timeline, we did seek out our counsel to take a look at this. Obviously, very, very meaty policy. The counsel, his name is Mark Kaposias, he works for Von Buren and Roper, who, you know, obviously we utilize. So in a conversation with him, we discussed,
You had all this in your
yeah,
memo here, so we read that.
Yep.
What I don't understand is why are we pushing forward something that even Neola themselves is compelled to keep the same until afterwards? Why are we compelling ourselves to change things that ain't changing yet?
we
Even
were,
Neola wrote in there that we're compelled to keep it the same way until after, you know, we're gonna prepare to implement it, but we're not changing, none policies are changing until after that date. I'm curious. They're the ones that sent us the notification to do it.
To do it.
They also said, but we're not.
oh, correct. So
Yeah,
you're exactly right. Now they also offered to help, but, the recommendation was that we get some clarification from our
Let the
council.
waters jump off the bridge before I do. I don't agree with any of this stuff.
Yeah. So the council who indicates, again, Mark Capricious from our law office, provided us with a summary of what he believes to be the major changes. He summed it up, with, I have that right here.
there are no major changes.
In summary, the policy is fairly consistent in terms of the language of the policy changes that were made in 2020. The biggest changes relate to the definition of on the basis of sex, and there's no need to address that in the policy as it's considered the law for the U.S. Supreme Court. New policy regulations provide the school with additional flexibility in terms of the grievance procedure, so that is a welcome change for the district and noted in this policy revision. So essentially, his recommendations for our Title IX policy, the new policy, were designed specifically to maintain our flexibility as a district and to ensure that we're compliant with the new procedures that are put in place. So what I included also in this was a summary of a Wisconsin local policy update for Title IX. Was put out at the end of June here by Neola, and that summarizes specifically in a little more detail what Mark has told us in his summary statement. So his recommendation is what you have in front of you as far as the district in terms of protecting our liability and following and being compliant with Title IX. And so that's what I bring forward to you today.
So all the stuff that's deleted on this copy, that's okay.
Well, there's some things that are deleted, but then, for example,
Well, there's a lot of, they're the green things that are in.
yes, and those would be the things that.
I
Yep,
read all that.
yep.
Just can't,
Which one are you looking at right now? On here, I'm looking at the digital.
2264.
oh, 2264. Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's the new one.
2264.
That's the new one.
I was looking at 2024. 2264, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that policy is the new policy, and it sort of replaces the old one.
Okay.
Some of the biggest things in there is as I mentioned before, they have the new definition on discrimination. They also have put in flexibility for the Title IX coordinator, who can now serve both as the investigator, decision maker, and the decision maker in appropriate circumstances. And the district can now implement an informal resolution process for Title IX complaints with mutual agreement with parties. So if there was something that came up as a complaint and the Title IX coordinator investigated and then followed up with the complainants with the possibility of having some type of resolution, you're not required to go through the full process as you were in the past. You are okay to have mutually agreed upon resolutions, which is new in this update. As he stated, there's not a ton of update to the policies itself. It's really around procedures, much of it. which all favor the district in terms of adding flexibility to how we handle complaints. And by the way, if this stuff confuses you, I will tell you, and I am, at least have gone through coursework on some of this, it's very difficult. Which is why just about everybody, by the way, he said, you're the third district I talked to today about these changes. And, it's just one of those things that, in an effort to maintain compliance on the federal regulation, we wanted to make sure we moved quickly to meet the deadline, but we also wanted to make sure we were doing it with the best interest of the district. And obviously, our attorney would be able to help us with that.
So the state of Wisconsin would like us to do this before August,
Federal government.
federal government before August.
But the state also, because they're the, we run stuff through them here in the state, obviously,
Right.
we're under them, but it was a federally mandated thing.
Okay.
I did ask the attorney what would happen if we don't pass the policy.
What they
He
say?
just said, well, you get it passed when you get it passed, but you're out of compliance as of August 1st if you don't have it passed.
Thoughts?
You're out of compliance if you do something against the federal law. Just because our policy is not updated per word doesn't mean that we're out of compliance. It does sound bad when you say it like that. The only problem I have with this is that they've reworded things so much in here. And like this, the portion where they were talking about, which it would seem like it would make sense, I guess, to where they're talking about discrimination, and they put in there, now they start adding the words sexual characteristics and things like that. But then they don't tell you exactly what do they mean by the words discrimination? And because we're talking about programs and activities, we're talking about sporting and things like that. So they're just breaking it all up, giving it new words, and then attaching it in different ways. And this whole thing is just another way to keep this in the limelight. But so I don't know. I read it, but I have not studied it. I'm not in favor of changing anything or putting anything through right now, but that's obviously not my choice.
Okay.
So the purpose of the policy is, in the eyes of the state and the federal government, then, is to not discriminate against any student.
Correct.
And that's how they're wording this.
Absolutely, but when you act, this is the thing, obviously, nobody wants to discriminate, but we all have our own views as to what, I do not believe that there should be boys on girls teams and things like that. They're including that with a discrimination somewhere in this word salad of 26 pages. They took our two-page policy and turned it into 26 pages, and they've hit it in that whole word salad. Nobody wants to discriminate, but I also believe that you're discriminating against female students when you put a boy on the team or when they're playing against boys. You're taking away from girls' sports. That's my point of discrimination. They're making it to the point where they chop it up so much to where it just ends up going through eventually in the first place. That's just my opinion, though. So.
It seems to me, I mean, we actually don't get a say, do we?
The law is the law, and then we have to follow it.
Yeah.
Whether this policy is passed or not.
Yeah, we don't get a say, so there's no sense, parsing the issues and stewing over, well, how are we gonna vote on this? Right?
That would be my recommendation.
Yeah,
The law is the law. What this policy does.
unless we want to follow a lawsuit.
What
I
these
don't wanna do
policy
that.
recommendations do is they update our district's framework for dealing with a Title IX complaint to align with the new rules. That's what this policy essentially does.
Yeah,
Yes, there's some additional language, and I don't disagree with you, Matt, like they can make things rather cumbersome. when they
They
do
do that on purpose. Because they know that they've been getting resistance for this in the first place. My only question would be, if this policy changes again, say November or December, would we be just as quick to go back and change it? Okay.
Yeah, we would, because they imposed the deadline on us. So whatever the deadline is we would act to meet it most expeditious.
I don't
So it's
care
just,
about their deadline.
it's just a pan line, like the, voting on it. It's like, well, we need to vote on it in order to say, well, okay, we vote to be in compliance. But I don't think we get much choice on anything else. We could vote not to be in compliance and then,
The only issue with that is if we have an existing policy that outlines a specific set of procedures for us to handle a complaint that aren't in line with the law, that puts us in a tough position
Yeah.
because do we follow our policy or do we follow the law?
yeah.
That would be the question.
Well,
Okay.
are we voting to change this immediately, or are we voting to change it on August 1st when they say?
So there is a provision in our bylaws which would allow the board to take action on this on the 9th, if it so chooses, because of the nature of having a timeline associated with this. So it's well within the board's rights to do that.
I move.
By
that we do
policy.
that.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I can second that we goes to the board. I have no problem with that. But what I'm saying, as far as the actual change of the policy, can it be worded?
Second.
Can it be worded, or is it worded? Because honestly, there's a lot in it. Is it worded to change on the date that the,
They just set the date as a date to say, districts, please have your policies, practices and procedures in relationship to these changes in place. So by you passing it on the 9th would allow us several weeks to make sure we update any of our documents that have our procedures for example, if we received a complaint on August 2nd, we would want to have all of this in place.
correct, so you can prepare all that, but
Yeah.
then can it be dated, say this will be implemented? Because that's what Neola's doing. They're doing the same thing. They have it all set in place, but they're not implementing anything until that very day.
Correct. And if you passed it on the 9th and your desire was to implement it on the 1st, which is the deadline, we certainly could do that.
Okay, well, then I'll put that in the motion.
Okay, so I have a motion from Kerry, and was that a second, Matt?
That it go into effect on August
Okay,
1st.
Chris.
No, this is bringing it to the board.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, the
the
recommendation
intent,
is to
yeah.
bring it to the board.
with the intent of putting it into
To approve of it, to be implemented August 1st.
Okay. Chris.
I was just gonna say that the policy itself says it pertains to anything that happens on or after August 1st, 2024. So it spells that out. Otherwise, I would absolutely have gone through the same thing to ask that. It say that it comes in effect August 2024.
Okay.
So either way it works.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of passing this on to the board, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And that will get passed on in July.
Okay.
And if anybody, as you go through any of this, has questions, you can relay them to me. I may or may not know the answer, but I'll get them. Thank you.
Okay. Before we go on to Elevate K-12, just a note, probably on the next agenda, we could have approval of minutes.
Oh, we should, yeah.
We haven't had committees for a while, so maybe, but we should always approve the minutes from the previous committee. So we'll just approve the minutes for last month's meeting at the next meeting, but if we can add that to the agenda.
Yeah, the last month was
Should always approve minutes.
They also come through the.
the meeting of the last month was,
last
was
Yeah,
June.
so I think what happened was the minutes from the committee got forwarded to be put on the board agenda and the whole board approved the committee minutes. For both
They know
curriculum
what happened
and.
here?
What's that?
Well,
Yeah, it should be done.
well,
It should be done at the
By the
committee.
board, yeah, by the committee.
Yeah, the committee should.
So it was the minutes from June 3rd.
So we want to.
2024.
Let's go through this committee, then to the committee.
Right, that's how,
Agenda.
that's how it's, because we were at the meeting and kind of know what happened, so. Okay,
kind
Yeah.
kind of, hopefully. All right. Elevate K-12, is that next?
Yeah.
Yes. Is this a curriculum thing?
No,
No, I think it's a personnel. thing.
So,
I read it, that's what I was.
yeah.
It's not a curriculum thing. It's
I
personnel.
about,
Yeah.
2 board meetings ago, Tony asked the question, he said, because I had listed in my director's report, all of our vacancies, support staff and professional staff. And Tony said, hey, we have been fill all those positions. And if you remember correctly, I said, well, you know,
Yeah, you're right.
a little anxious about this, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So at that point in time, I said, hey, there's an opportunity for me to talk about Elevate K-12. And that's when I gave you kind of an overview of Elevate K-12.
Right.
Elevate K-12, I'm gonna go into emergence staffing next to, are 2 organizations that, given we aren't successful finding somebody to fill certain teaching positions, we can look at those 2 organizations as an option, all right? So that's what we're looking at possibly.
This is online, right?
So Elevate K-12 is, and I put some bullets right in here. Let me just talk through the bullets, Terry. I'll get to your question, right?
Okay. Yeah.
First of all, Elevate K-12 is in about 150 schools in the Milwaukee School District. They're in Baraboo and in Partyville. So I did contact the principal at Baraboo and Partyville relative to, hey, tell me about the program, how did it go for you, blah, blah, blah. Baraboo, it went outstanding. Partyville, they had an individual that after about 6 weeks, they said, they're working for us. Contacted Elevate K-12, moved the other person, moved somebody else in, went very well for the rest of the year. So they had a pretty decent experience.
Okay.
Today, we met with Elevate K-12 virtually the first time. Lee and I had an on-site meeting with Phil Douglas the second time. We had a third virtual, and so I just wanted you to know that we have done some homework with this organization. All of their teachers are Wisconsin licensed and certified.
Okay.
The classroom environment is one of, yes, they're up on a screen, and however, it's interactive. So the teacher can see the entire class. They know, hey, Matthew, I need you to be on task here, focus a little bit, please. Carrie, I'm gonna ask you a question. So where a virtual situation, you don't have that. Virtual situation about prescriptive teaching, I can't see the students. I don't know, I can't call my name. I can't, do that type of thing. So that's one big difference. Then you have to have a classroom coach. So what that means is you have to have an adult in that classroom, obviously, supervising the students. So some options for that would be such as, we could do an overload situation. Now, an overload situation would be a situation where we're not gonna pay the full overload because the person's not planning, they're not teaching, But we'd figure out a prorated amount that was fair, because they will have to input grades and do a few things like that. Plus, they have to be there because we need a decent person, badly.
Yeah.
We need an effective person in that classroom that knows the kids, relates to the kids, and can keep the kids focused on the lesson and what's going on also. So that position is important. We could hire a full-time sub to do that. We could hire a para to do that. We have different options of different situations that we possibly do there. I took the contract, and it's with legal counsel right now because it's about a 12-page contract, and I got legal counsel reviewing the contract to make sure there's nothing in there that would be at a disadvantage to us for any particular reason, just so you know I'm covering that piece. Let's say we contract with them, and we're fortunate enough to find an individual for a certain position. And we've already contracted for them. We get a credit for all next year. So for example, we get a credit, and then something happens mid-year, sometime near the year, where we need something in some other position, we can apply that credit to that other position. So I just want you to know we got a credit there. I did talk about the change of instruction. We need about a 4 to 6 week lead time. So that's why we're kind of moving right now type of thing. We don't, Katie's been involved in this, Katie Eichmann, and Katie doesn't believe that it's going to be we're gonna see how this all shakes out, but overall a really good fit for special education, depending on the circumstances. But with that being said, we have We currently have 3 math vacancies. We're worried about filling those math vacancies. We might look to this program to do mathematics. We don't know. We have a general music position at elementary we're struggling with. So we do have some positions that I'm pretty dang nervous about us being able to find somebody. So this potentially would be an option if we don't find somebody. Other questions, because I'm gonna move to emergency.
Yes, this isn't cheap.
This is,
Oh,
well, if you look down here, thanks for bringing that up. Thanks for bringing that up, Karen. If you look down here, go scroll down if you're in your board book.
Yeah.
But if you're not, if we're looking for a standard math teacher for middle school, 5 periods, hour long, full year, total price, $77,500.
yeah, right.
So at the end of the day,
That's just a position.
at the end of the day, if we hire somebody at 50,000, a beginning teacher, had the benefit package, full benefit package,
More than that.
we're gonna be at 77,000. So it's not out of bounds.
Okay,
Then they have a situation there where they call it premier. So it's more of a specific algebra 1, maybe a chemistry class, a biology, I don't know, something that's higher level student in teaching. It costs a little bit more. I think it's 89. So
yeah,
the odds are for us to find somebody to teach that, our average salary in this district is about 65. You throw $35,000 worth of benefits on that, and you're at 100 grand, because that's what
okay.
notice about 100 grand per teacher
okay.
as we're costing stuff out. So it's in the ballpark, it's not something that, because we looked at that and going, whoa, hopefully that's not gonna be so exorbitant that we're like, okay, we can't do that.
What if you order this and say, okay, give us a math teacher? And then you look at the first week of the instruction, you say, oh, this guy sucks. We don't want this guy.
Right.
I mean, I know if we, at least, when we hire them in the live, we do an interview, we know that they can, do a sentence with a verb in it. And that sort of stuff. But here it's kind of blind.
A little bit, Kerry.
Yeah.
However, when I talked to the high school principal at Partyville, they had that same experience.
Oh, they did.
They
Okay.
contacted Elevate K-12.
Okay, that was the
They had
situation.
switched out
Okay.
for the rest of
All right.
it was about mid-October when it happened, and they said enough's enough. And they switched it out, and the rest of the year went really well.
So they're responsive on, yeah.
Yes, they were in that case.
Is this a strict, I just see only examples are for math. Is this strictly math stuff or? is this
No.
anything?
No.
So will they be able to follow, like, we have, SFA and all the other things that we're doing? How is our curriculum? How does that work?
Yeah, they're pretty adaptable to what we're doing and the standards and stuff like that. I don't anticipate, I'm glad you brought this up, man. I don't anticipate doing any of this at the elementary level. I mean, we basically have all of our elementary
Yeah.
teaching positions, like, grades K-5 filled. We're in a good place there.
Middle school, a big
It's
part of
the
it
middle
too.
school math, high school math. And by the way, we've already hired 5 math teachers.
I know, I looked at the things.
5 math teachers.
So you've
So,
been pretty good at getting us math teachers, so.
Yeah, but we can only go to the well so many times, right?
Yeah, that's
The well gets pretty shallow. Yeah, so
So what's your recommendation? Authorize it in case we need it?
hang tight with me, Gary, you're right on. I want to go into emergency. Well, maybe this is the way to go. What I'm asking you to do is to give us the green light that should we have to go to an organization like this to provide instruction, we can move and we can do it.
At least we have anecdotal information that they're pretty good, so.
And I want to talk about emergence because it's a different type of look, but we want to be able to do the same type of thing. But do you want me to go to them, or do you want to do them one at a time?
I just had a question, kind of along what Kerry was saying, that I'm assuming when we do this, we'd sign a contract with them.
Yes.
And then what happens if we have a well that's filled with teachers and we don't need them?
Yeah. So first of all, let me
Oh, we
back
don't
up.
we don't
Let
have
me
to.
back up with the contract. I'm having legal counsel review this contract right as we're speaking. I'm not gonna sign a contract that's 12 pages long without them saying, hey, no, that looks good, you're good to go. Secondly, if that happens, Biv, then they give us a credit for the entire 24-25 school year. So if something happens somewhere else with a different subject area or anything, we just go right to that credit and we use that money to fill that position.
That's good.
So,
Good question.
you know, so
If we hired someone, for example, let's just say by July 15th, we were kind of looking at the timetable for this. So like, that's like crunch time when you start looking in the middle part or the end of July. What they told us is, let's say, for example, you signed us up with a math teacher, just use that as the example since that's the one we've been talking about. If you happen to strike gold in between time, no problem. Ours will just get credited. And I think Mike can speak for, like, there are times in the school year with FMLA and all of the different, like, you name the next crisis, we end up having to try to put subs in long-term situations where something like this could even possibly be useful for that. So it's not a huge risk because typically there are always positions that we could utilize the credits for.
So then what's the cost to us of getting involved in this program? The dollar cost?
well, right here they showed, middle school math, 5 sections, full-time job, hour 60-minute class, which our classes aren't 60 minutes, it'd be a little less. 77,500.
We don't have to pay anything unless we use it.
That's what I was gonna
You
say.
know, it's user-based. There isn't like everything's associated cost with the position, correct?
Right.
Yeah, we're not gonna say, hey, we're giving you this amount of money to do this and then not use it. We only have to pay if we use it.
If we use,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what about the way that they present it here? It says, Algebra 1, say the premium, for a freshman. It looks like it's added together. It comes up to 166,650. And they're kind of putting that is that the way that we would purchase it? Because it does say in here, minimum budget for known Elevate K-12 live teaching classes and what the district will be invoiced for,
Yeah, right,
166,650.
Yeah, and
That
that's,
was just the example.
So it doesn't, what, is it? Because it looks like,
Well, total district budget.
I just want to make
and
sure
then
that we
it's
can choose to do
well,
one or the other or both or whatever.
so, first of all, in this example, it's 2 positions, right? It's 2 positions. It's the middle school math, the algebra 1.
Right.
So what this would look like you put in our school name, Washington Middle School, Lincoln High School. So what this would look like, let's just say it's Washington Middle School math. Let's say it's Lincoln High School math. And then this would be filled in very similar to what this looks like. Or it could be, I don't know, give me something else. Washington Middle School Science, could be filled in for that. Wilson Middle School Math, be filled in for that. Lincoln High School Biology, be filled in for that. That's what it would look like as far as the invoice that we would receive. Does that make sense? Is that what you're asking?
I agree that makes sense, and that's what I would think it is, but the way that it looks here, it looks as if, hey, say we needed a couple of middle school classes, whatever it may be, great, here's your package, and this is what we invoice you for. You have the option of using those 5 or whenever you can to the 9th grade premium or whatever, but you're getting invoiced with it right along with everything else, whether you use that or not. The reason why I say this, because it doesn't say this is an example. It literally says the minimum budget for known Elevate K-12 live teaching classes and what the district will be invoiced for. It says it's invoiced both.
But we have to use it.
Well, I know that,
I
but
don't
what if
think
we
they're
just
gonna
need a
say,
couple
we're not
of,
gonna give them this money on.
what if we just need a couple of middle school? Am I making sense or no?
Yeah.
So, I'm looking at that box now. It says total budget amount, correct? On the left, right? So the minimum is the 2 positions that we basically said, here's what we need. The maximum would be saying, hey, we're gonna contract with you for possibly 2 more positions. We're not quite sure what they're gonna be yet.
Yeah.
that type of thing.
Okay.
We're gonna be a little bit more conservative with that type of space. I really only wanna get out there for the positions that we cannot fill.
Yeah, this is a safety net. I mean, I'm not in favor of not live in class,
We'll rate
helping the kids individually, sort of education,
Okay.
so.
I mean,
Let's bring it to,
as
That's where the
as
other one comes in,
as-
is that one's a little different mob.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit different model, but here's how this all came about. About a month and a half ago or so, whatever. 1 week, I went 0 for 5 with trying to seal a deal with some teachers.
Oh,
Just for whatever reasons. So I was like,
wow,
you know, does that make you a little nervous? Heck yeah, it made me a little
oh,
nervous.
yeah.
So all of a sudden, this Phil Douglas, I mean, these people are calling me all the time, trying to get a hold of me, you know, emailing me and stuff, right? Well, his timing was just like, it was just perfect. It was timing, right? Timing's everything. I call him up, say, talk to me. And that's how we got started, you know, because
Yeah.
it was one of those situations where it's like, jeepers, I'm getting a little scared here, you know? So that's Elevate K-12. The other organization is Emergis Staffing, and Emergis Staffing. And
Oh, yeah.
what I would say is it's kind of like it's an organization that from my perspective, they're like headhunters.
I was gonna say they're headhunters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they have these potential teachers, and what they do is they say, hey, if you want to look through our organization, here's a couple. You're looking for special education. Here's a couple of special education teachers. Interview them. If you want to, you can contract with us and employ them. They're employed through Emergence, not us.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's a temp agent.
So it's a very, yeah,
Yeah, right.
you know, and we were, just recently, Maria, and she said, hey, if you're really interested in this, speech language pathologist, we need to move on it. So we moved on it right away. Basically got an email from her this morning. Took another job somewhere else. So, not that I would have gone forward with the board's approval, but you know, you gotta move. So, as you can tell, this is a little different organization. They provide a human being, licensed and the whole 9 yards. I looked at their rates. I took I don't remember, I think it was a special education teacher, $75 an hour. I took the 65,000 average salary and divided it by 185 days by 7 hours. Came up to $50 an hour. Plus you throw benefits on it, we're at $75 an hour. So once again, it's in the ballpark. Once again, it's an organization that, should we not be able to fill a seat on the bus, we may go there, you know, I mean.
Yeah, where are these guys? I mean, well, I suppose they're everywhere. You just look them up on the.
Yeah, and as you can tell, I mean, Emergis,
I mean, way back in the old Stone Age, I mean, when I got out of grad school, I didn't have a job. I mean, I went to one of these places and they got me kind of a long-term sub job, so.
they started,
So are you looking at doing both of these programs, or does one stick out as?
both,
Both.
because they have different offerings
Yeah,
and
they're different services, yeah.
little bit different services. And we just want to have all our options available to us to try to go with the best option that we believe is best for our kids, you know?
What does a contract with these people look like, or is it just that hourly thing when we need it?
Well, this was very interesting. So Emergis, 15-page contract. I sent it to Van Bryson, Macy's office, and they reviewed it, and it came back with, Mike, I would not sign this contract.
Really?
Yep. And it had a number of revisions. So I took it and I moved it on to Maria, and I said, you need to look at this. And because our attorneys reviewed this, and this is the contract that we would like to sign, let me know if it's a viable option for you or not. So they're working on that from their end of it. So, you know, I just want to make sure that we're on solid ground and we're not.
Wow, good for you.
Well,
That was a good.
The interesting thing there too is the contract, was really tailor-made to the state of Maryland. This company, I can't remember, this company was a different company just recently, and Emergis took them over. So, but anyway, they're just two different opportunities, and you know, this Emergis also does things like sign language interpreters. When you
Yeah, I saw
prove them,
that, yeah.
when you prove them.
Oh, wow.
Speech language patterning. So who knows what we're gonna be able to get from what organization that we feel most comfortable with, you know? So I'm just asking permission to be able to go in either of these two directions, given we decide, I'm talking about me and Heidi and Katie and Angela,
Oh, yeah.
Jim, we decide we're gonna go there, you know, to make sure we fill the needs for an instructional situation.
Nothing would actually get approved until it went to the board though, correct? I mean,
We could,
because I even,
we could
like,
recommend.
we'd have to look at a contract and things like that. That stuff can't be, we can't give you the okay until it goes to the board.
Okay.
Because, I mean, first of all, you
We
just
could
said
say
you
we
send back the
recommend it.
contract
Yeah.
for them to review and do different things. That's fine.
Right.
Right now, it looks great, but I wouldn't be able to give an okay. I could say we could forward it to the board once you get that ready, and everybody can vote on that and have their own say, but,
When do you think you would get the finished contract?
Yeah, ideally, we'd want to be able to bring this in front of the board July 9th.
oh,
We can move
well, that would be great. That I can see.
if I gotta get the contract back from Emergis. I gotta get the contract from Elevate K-12 back from our legal counsel. I mean, I'll do my best to
Oh,
see
sure.
if I can get on the July 9th agenda, you know?
If we have to call it another special meeting or something, Chris could probably have.
You haven't talked to anybody that used this
Could
emergency?
even do it online if it's an emergency type
Have you?
thing.
Yes.
I said it was,
I talked to Waukesha
oh, okay.
and Jim Siebert's the superintendent down there, and Jim and I worked together in Fondley for quite a few years. He was my suit when I was an HR there. And he said, I'm gonna have my HR person contact you. So I talked to their HR person. And she said that, yes, they've used them in a couple of situations. And yes, it's been good. And I think everybody would say, but it's not as good as finding your own person.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But we can't choose to not teach a math course. You know, we have to teach those things.
I mean, if you don't have, you know, if you take 5 sections of something and you start to spread those kids out, let's take Algebra 1. And all of a sudden you spread 125 students out among, I don't know how many Algebra 1 sections you have left remaining. 10? I mean, all of a sudden, you know, and plus scheduling, I mean, it gets pretty messy pretty fast.
You can't do that.
You know, so,
Yeah, 5 sections, oh my Jesus.
yeah.
So I guess I'm thinking, unless I'm completely off base, that we would forward this to the 9th meeting. And hopefully those contracts are back so people can look at them, and then,
The 9th meeting, the board meeting, right?
yeah, on the 9th, and then just, if you make the same kind of explanation to the rest of the board as, I mean, unless somebody's thinking this isn't a good idea, but.
Well, it sucks that we gotta use it, but it's, you know, we're in a time right now where we have to do what's best for students, and unfortunately, spending things like this is necessary, but I wanna see it first. I mean, I wouldn't wanna okay anything until we see it, and I would want everybody else to have their own opinion.
Yeah, I talked to Jamie Hins over in Sheboygan too, and they're looking at both of these as options too. So it's not something that Manitowoc's gonna be unique. There's no doubt about that, it's just.
I mean, you've been doing this for years now, haven't you? So when do you have a full house? When normally do you have a full house?
Oh,
You know, and have you hired, you know, the weekend before Labor Day?
oh yeah, I mean,
Okay,
hiring is like, when I first started in HR 15 years ago, pretty much had everybody hired mid-August. And hiring just slowed down to almost nothing until next season. Now, it's 12 months a year. It's just year round.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, it's just, I mean,
wow.
it's just it's just a different world out there. And teachers, I mean, back in the day, teachers never left as much because A, they lost their seniority, and B, a lot of times when they went to another district, their salary ended up being a little bit less.
Yeah.
Chris can talk to that.
Yeah, you drop back to the first step on
Step
Yeah,
number,
Did you?
ladder you're on. Yeah, oh yeah.
right?
Oh, wow.
Right. Yeah, now they leave us, seniority is not as big a factor, sometimes it's zero. And when they go to another district, they're always getting an increase. Otherwise, they don't leave, you know?
Oh,
So it's, I mean, it's like free agency. Yeah, it's just a free agency out there, so, I mean, it's just a different world
wow.
than it was a decade or more ago. You know, and as we all know, you either adapt with the change, embrace the change, or
Or die. Yeah.
Yes.
So are you looking for a motion to forward this to the board for the July 9th meeting without a recommendation? Because I would move to do that.
yes.
Yes, I would. I'll move that.
The only thing I'm saying is, should the recommendation be,
Well, that's why without a recommendation at all, we haven't seen the contracts.
yeah,
We're just forwarding it,
Advancing a recommendation for board consideration?
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
advanced July
Let's do
9th,
that.
but without a recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you haven't had a chance to endorse it because you
Yeah.
haven't seen all the.
I mean, I feel good about the program and using it, but we really need to look at the contract, so I guess we'll just make that point when it comes to the
Sure.
board.
Yeah.
That we were positive about it, we just didn't have the legalese. So I've got a motion to do that, do I have a second? Second. For Matt, all those in favor say aye,
Aye.
and let's move on to nays. Anybody?
No names.
Okay, so then let's move on to the youth apprenticeship,
Yeah.
it's the easy one.
Yeah, well, the last board meeting before that, board approved 6 positions for our youth apprentice program. And students that are going to work in the EL program, English Language Learner Program. And as we said, we really liked it because it was giving our students an opportunity to determine whether they like the educational setting or not, and stuff like that. So what happened here was Heidi and her team went to work on really being specific what the needs are and the interviews, and found that it really had 7 positions out there, and they found they had 7 really good candidates. So we're basically looking to, we've had 6 approved already, we're just looking to add 1. It's $5,000, it's Title 4, some 3, what it's title money. I don't know if you want me to go to the full board with that, or if you're like, hey, we had 6 approved, we are good to go with 7.
So we have an extra student who wants that opportunity.
We
I think we have money to, yeah.
Discussion, motion?
I would move to recommend to the board.
Was the recommended board, with a
Yep.
second?
Yep.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
It's kind of cool. This apprentice is kind of pretty good.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I was out in Virginia, not last week, the weekend before. Matter of fact, I need this cred for one of my grandkids. But anyway, I was at a function for one of the grandkids, and there was this young lady that was doing all the teaching in there. So I asked her, I said, so what are you doing? She said, well, I just graduated from high school, I'm going to school next year at University of Virginia Tech or something like that. And I said, oh yeah? I said, so how'd you get interested in education? And she told me all about this program that they have in Loudoun County School District that allows, they sound like they apply, they get selected, and they go through this entire program. And when they get out of that program and they go to college for education and they get their license, they come back and Loudoun County
Oh,
guarantees them a position
oh,
in that school district. So
What was
basically,
that?
you're growing your own.
Yeah,
So,
smart.
yeah, so one of the things that when I get some TIME, I'd like to call our HR department and learn a little bit more about that program, you know, so, anyway, moving on.
Oh,
Okay, that's approved. Can we put that on the consent agenda, or do you think we have to?
yeah, let's put it on the consent agenda.
That's-
Let's do that.
On board, on the youth apprenticeship, the
other ones-
interventionist, and all three of these, in my opinion, they're all
Yeah, right.
consent agenda.
Let's see where they go. McKinley Interventionist.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I talked, you know, Stephanie approached, Lee and I and talked to us about, the number of programs that they have out there at the Stangle Building, how they all differ, the variety of students, da-da-da-da-da. And that, we're looking at staffing. And as you can tell from the charts, this past year, we had 23 FTEs out there. We had 13 for next year. Remember, those are the 10 from the online stuff though. However, we've determined that we've had two FTEs for special education out there. We need one. So we'd like to convert the other FTE to the student services intervention position, academic behavioral intervention, working with the kids in all these different programs. So the bottom line there is it's not a new FTE, converting an FTE. You could say it's a new
Oh,
position.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
New position. And Stephanie's here to answer any questions relative to what we're trying to, you know, where we're trying to go with this and stuff like that, so.
That's a good proposal. What's it gonna cost?
Well, the FTE is already there.
Yeah,
Because
the
we
FTE is already there.
FTEs, and we're not.
Oh, yeah, so we don't, so that's, yeah, it's already in the budget, yeah.
It's already there.
Yeah.
We're, you know, as I would say, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're just converting an FTE from here to this position, you know. They're very, very similar, maybe this is where you're gonna go, Lee.
Yeah, it was.
Very similar to when we staff, you know, at Lincoln this year, we needed one less English position, one FTE less, but we needed one more in math. So, okay, well, there's the FTE, we're going there.
Oh, yeah,
You're up in business, you're down in FA, so you do those things on your thing.
Right.
This is just in a school where there's less personnel, so you're looking at it from the perspective of the FTE bottom line.
Yeah.
So what are the qualifications for this job? I know it's a bachelor's degree with, you know, some experience, but is there a certification for
I think,
doing this job at all?
I think, well, not a specific certification, but we're looking for obviously, whenever we hire, we're looking for a good human being.
Yeah, sure.
Somebody that's gonna be good with kids, da-da-da-da-da. We do have an internal person that we think would be a good
Oh,
fit.
okay, all right,
Yep, we really do,
all right. Well, I'll vote for it.
so.
Questions? Oh, Chris?
You don't think it needs to explicitly state that they have to be certified in upper ed?
Are you looking at the job description, Chris? or what?
Yeah. It says education, bachelor's degree and a minimum of 3
Yeah,
years
right.
teaching
Yeah.
or K-12 education-related experience. But they're going to be dealing with some of our
High school
most
students.
at-risk,
Right.
you know, 9-12 students. So I would want someone who's certified in upper ed.
When you say upper ed,
Secondary?
Secondary.
Yeah, secondary.
so I think we'd say bachelor's degree in education, because some people look at, I got a bachelor's degree in English, I got a bachelor's degree in business or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Bachelor's degree, so you're thinking bachelor's degree in secondary education. Most
So
likely,
who's the person, who's the inside?
well,
Stephanie?
what's that?
What's that?
Who's the person?
Oh, it's in the, I don't know if we can go there at this point, because.
No, but is, I mean, I kind of think, yeah, Chris is right on that one, but.
But if you're asking that question, this person's a
Would meet the
secondary person.
criteria,
meet the criteria, yeah, secondary person.
Yeah, but you can't build your criteria on a person. That would be-
No.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
We didn't say we were, but.
No, no.
I was just curious as to whether the person you thought would do this job well got that certification. Okay, all right. It's good. And I think it's a great idea, yeah.
Yeah, we think it'd be,
So the current person you have fits the definition that Chris wants, correct?
right,
Unless
Licensed.
licensing has changed.
Licensed in multiple things.
Right, I was gonna say, this has changed, most special ed people are licensed. But in the future, I think that's probably a good idea to, if that person would be, to make sure it's somebody with secondary experience.
right, right. And we can just put bachelor's degree in education. With secondary education.
Stephanie was gonna,
But yeah, the programs, we have grades 1 through 12 in McKinley, and they'd be working with all the programs. So it'd be elementary students as well. Sitting there all at risk, so I was kind of looking for somebody with that at risk or like psych, all that kind of background.
I would agree with that. It would be nice to have, if they're kind of that counselor interventionist, they have that high school. Having been at both levels, that's much, as you probably know, to do than sometimes the elementary kids. But I suppose if we put down behavioral in the job description rather than,
The plan was like to leave it a little bit more open, because then you could get a social worker license, a psychology license, like it wouldn't be just a social worker license or something.
it's. How do you define that?
That's why that's his job.
yeah, right. Just say appropriate certification, yeah. And then you wing it.
Any other questions on this? Got a motion to approve.
Oh, did you make one?
Yeah. I got a motion from Matt, second from Carrie.
Yep.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Okay,
Are we gonna take this under consent or what?
put that on the agenda because there may
Sure.
be discussion. I just,
Yeah.
for positions, I'm a little more, let's have it out there so people know it's important.
All right, moving on.
It's kind of an innovation, right? Yeah.
Riverview Associate Principal.
Yes. So this has been discussed for quite some time. Matter of fact, I think shortly after I was here, people were talking to me about it, but anyway, Heidi and I and Courtney Schultz, principal at Riverview, sat down and started talking a little bit more in detail, a little more seriously about this. And what we're looking at is you look at this chart here, and you look at the number of employees per building out there. You look at the number of administrators per building.
Oh, yeah.
And Courtney right now is 1 to 88 relative to her number of employees over there, 1 to 88 as far as an administrator.
Yeah.
Okay. And you look at everybody else here, there's a lot, the secondary schools are like 1 to 35-ish.
Right.
So anyway, so that's one thing that kind of jumps out at you right there. Then if you look at the student enrollments, and they're looking at almost 600 kids over there in their K-5, 4K settings. And Washington has 508 and Wilson has 466. It's a pretty large school. There's a lot
Why
of
is it
stuff.
so big?
It's really 2 schools in 1 school. The 4K end has gotten bigger and bigger. And the K-5 was just the regular size school. I mean, it was comparable, but you throw the 4K end in, and it's really 2 schools.
Wow.
They have 2 different,
When I saw the numbers there, I thought,
they have 2 different start and end times. They have, it's a very unique situation to have built really 2 different schools functioning inside that building.
And Heidi, do I have this correct that we have 4K coming from the Y, and then next year 4K coming from LTC or something?
Well, our numbers will go up after this year, the numbers are just gonna increase because the Y program students will start to come to Riverview also, so that's an additional 50 to 75 students potentially. And then Lakeshore the year that, so it's just getting bigger.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
So,
yeah, almost 600.
yeah, so what we're proposing relative to that is that, basically changing the early learning coordinator position to an associate principal position for Riverview and early learning. The cost, I'm projecting the cost to be about $7,000.
It's gonna what?
The cost will be about $7,000 because we take the early learning salary, so to speak, and move it to
Okay.
associate principal.
It's not costing that much to add it. To be honest with you, I'm surprised we haven't done it earlier, and I think we
Yeah.
also need to look at like the places like Franklin and
Yeah.
Jefferson eventually. That's just no other job out there where you have, doesn't have at least some sort of other people assisting with that many employees. So, but I'm surprised that we still haven't touched on Franklin yet.
So
Yeah, that's true, the Franklin thing is, yeah.
But I would motion to move this to the board with recommendation for approval.
A motion, do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Second with Carrie. Any concerns, any questions? Any other discussion? Yes.
There's no job description. So I will not be supporting this for the want of an
We
actual
have
job
a
description.
job descriptions for associate principals, so don't we?
yes, we do.
So it would be the same job description that we use at the other schools?
Well,
I'm just asking.
Yeah, well, that's a good question, Chris.
Yeah,
I think we'd have to probably modify it a tad bit, but all in all, we do have associate principal job descriptions for the middle school and the high school. So we probably have to just modify it. So that
The coordinator position that exists now, in many ways, that job description has principal responsibilities in it, communicating with parents, organizing staff, having staff professional development. So it's essentially taking the parts of the assistant principal position that are about supervising and evaluating staff and adding those to that. Because it isn't just an AP position, it's a coordinator / AP position, because all that 4K coordinators parts of the job still needs to exist. So it'd be really combining the two.
but
So-
it'll require an assistant principal's license, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
You got something you need to supervise. Yep.
So can we get a
Yes,
description for that?
Absolutely.
we'll pull it together for the,
So the friendly amendment would be approval of it with a job description included?
I will not vote for it without seeing a job description.
Well, yeah, it'll,
That's
it
just
should
So
be there
when
for
it
the
comes to
meeting.
That's
board,
just
yeah.
The ninth,
way I do
No,
things.
get
meeting
it.
at the ninth.
When it comes to the board, there'll be a job description.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll see.
okay, so
Yep.
this motion is purely
Your-
with
your
your
motion
additional
is still-
friendly was, and I'll accept that friendly amendment. Basically, we're just moving this to board,
The board
recommended for
Recommend,
approval
yeah,
with
yeah.
the
job description.
job description,
Yeah.
which I believe we already have somewhere in our books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Absolutely.
let's just change the titles and make sure everything is good. Go over.
Copy that.
That's cool.
Any other discussion on it? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay,
Nay?
and we move that on to the board.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Second from Chris. All those in favor say aye,
I'm the only one-
Aye.
I'm the only one that has to say now, right?
and we are adjourned.
How are you doing? Yeah, you're saying that.
Yes.